Welcome to Wasson Wire. Today we're talking about human rights lawyer Rajesh Nagarajan's sharp critique of the Ministry of Education's recent, really controversial decision. And the core issue we need to unpack is, well, it's genuinely staggering. The Ministry of Education, through the minister, has made this highly sensitive call. They're allowing Form 5 students accused of gang raping a Form 3 girl to sit for the Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia examination next month. I mean, when you first hear that, the immediate reaction, and Nagarajan really hits this, it feels like more than just a procedural error. It feels like a profound moral failure.
Absolutely. It puts the ministry right in the middle of a legal and ethical storm. Nagarajan's critique really lays out the conflict clearly. On one hand, yes, there's the legal right to be presumed innocent. They are only accused at this point. That's fundamental. But on the other hand, you've got the institution's duty, a really serious duty to protect the school environment, its integrity for every single child in Malaysian schools. Nagarajan's point is that the ministry seems to have, prioritized the wrong thing here.
Right. And that failure, that choice of priority, is what's causing such intense public dismay. Nagarajan didn't mince words at all. He called the Ministry of Education's action basically giving a slap in the face to Malaysians who believe in justice. And crucially, in protecting children, he argues it's reckless, just plain reckless. Because it seems the ministry is putting bureaucratic needs, keeping the exam schedule running smoothly ahead of three critical things: public safety in schools, the victim's immediate well-being, her recovery, and just the basic moral standards we expect from our education system.
And you have to ask, what kind of message does that send? What's the institutional signal when individuals facing allegations this severe can just proceed with a national exam like nothing's happened? Nagarajan believes it's deeply chilling. It really undermines public confidence in the Ministry of Education's ability to act responsibly, to govern with any kind of moral backbone.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the emotion of that slap-in-the-face comment. It's powerful. But let's look structurally for a second. Beyond the outrage, what's Nagarajan saying about why the ministry made this call? They must have had some kind of, procedural defense.
Oh, I'm sure they did, or think they did. The ministry is almost certainly trying to shield itself behind the Education Act. The part that guarantees the right to education, the right to sit for exams. The minister would likely argue that suspending academic rights needs a conviction, needs the courts to finish. They probably see it as a procedural necessity to avoid prejudicing the legal case. But that's precisely where Nagarajan launches his most pointed critique.
Okay, so what is that core moral argument against just following procedure like that?
He argues the minister is making a fundamental mistake here, a category error, really, by using educational rights as a blanket cover. The ministry is effectively signaling that something as horrific as alleged gang rape can just be, excused or pushed aside for convenience. It sends this terrible message that keeping the academic schedule is somehow more vital than the safety and emotional state of the entire school community.
And treating these accused students like they're just ordinary students needing academic continuity. Nagarajan's phrase for that was brutal: cowardice cloaked in justice. That phrase really should stick with you. It suggests that when things are this serious, ignoring the institutional impact just to keep things normal isn't neutral. It's actually kind of participating in minimizing the crime itself.
Exactly. And we have to keep coming back to the Ministry of Education's fundamental job description. It isn't just running exams. Its core mandate, surely, is ensuring schools are safe, secure places for learning. Unequivocally safe. Nagarajan suggests that letting students accused of such violence back, even just for exams, risks turning the school into something awful. He actually called it like a crime scene being reenacted with official approval.
That phrase is chilling, too. Okay, so that leads us to the really tricky part, the legal versus administrative line. The ministry says presumption of innocence, legal principle. How does Nagarajan, a human rights lawyer himself, argue against that without undermining the principle?
Right, and this is probably the most important takeaway. Nagarajan draws a very clear, very necessary line. The presumption of innocence is absolutely vital. It's a cornerstone of our legal system for the courts. No question. However, and this is the key bit, it does not mean that accused individuals are free from all consequences, especially not non-judicial administrative ones designed to protect the community. Think about it like this. It helps make the distinction clear. If, say, a surgeon was accused of a violent assault outside work, the hospital wouldn't just say, oh, presumption of innocence, carry on operating. They'd suspend him immediately, pending investigation.
Right. As a precaution.
Exactly. Not as punishment, but as risk management. To protect patients, protect the hospital's integrity. Nagarajan is basically demanding the Ministry of Education apply that same standard of institutional caution.
Okay, I get the caution argument, but let me play devil's advocate here for a second. What if the ministry does ban them now, suspend their education, and then, months or years later, the courts acquit them? Doesn't the ministry then face a massive lawsuit for ruining their academic future? How does Nagarajan suggest navigating that risk?
He frames it as a hierarchy of responsibility. His argument is that the ministry, being responsible for children, must put the immediate safety of the school community first. Above the potential future legal risk from the accused, the sheer severity of the allegation gang rape demands institutional caution now. You simply can't wait for a legal process that might take ages while the safety and well-being of the victim and other students are potentially at risk today. And allowing the accused to sit for the SPM without any restrictions, it massively trivializes the victim's trauma. Nagarajan argues this one decision sends two terrible messages at once. First, to the alleged perpetrators, don't worry, even for the most serious accusations, you won't lose your privileges. And second, to every victim of sexual assault in the system, your pain, your trauma, that's secondary, less important than running the exams on time.
Okay, so the criticism is strong. What are the concrete actions Nagarajan is calling for? He's not just criticizing, he's demanding specific changes from the Minister of Education, right?
Absolutely. First and foremost, the demand is immediate withdrawal. The minister needs to reverse this decision about letting these specific students sit for the SPM right now. He argues that's essential to even begin restoring trust.
Withdraw the decision. And then what? What about preventing this situation, this ambiguity, from happening again down the line?
He's calling for clear, unambiguous policy guidelines, system-wide. These guidelines need to spell out an institutional ban, a non-negotiable ban for any student accused of sexual crimes or serious violence from any school activities, including public exams. That ban should hold until their legal case is completely finished, resolved by the courts. He argues the standard has to be absolute to guarantee safety. And if we look at the bigger picture here, beyond this single awful case, Nagarajan argues the stakes for Malaysian education are incredibly high. When an institution like the Ministry of Education prioritizes procedure over what seems like a clear moral duty, it risks seriously damaging its own authority, its moral standing. And that erosion of trust in our educational leadership, that's a heavy price for the whole country to pay, potentially for years.
It really does force you, doesn't it, to think hard about where that line should be. Is it actually possible, when you're dealing with alleged violent crimes like this, is it possible to find a workable balance between one student's abstract right to education and the very concrete, immediate need for a safe environment for everyone else, especially the victim?
Ultimately, yeah. Nagarajan's core challenge is really aimed at the ministry's conscience. Should bureaucratic convenience, the need to run exams smoothly, ever override the fundamental moral obligation to protect vulnerable students and to uphold some semblance of justice within the school system itself? That's the question he leaves hanging.
And maybe here's a final thought for you, the listener, to grapple with. What kind of precedent does this decision really set? How will the ministry handle all serious violent crimes by students across Malaysia from now on? And just how much institutional privilege are we as a society actually willing to accept in the name of academic continuity when someone else's safety, their well-being, is clearly being put at risk? Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.